Okay, I think we're live. I think we're live. We are hopefully this evening. We will be delighted to have another amazing guest from the world of movies and magic. Just put my earphones back in. We are talking, of course, about the fabulous Billy Brooks. Billy, I think it's fair to say, is a veteran, having worked in many visual effects, movies and animation for over 20 years. His career highlight, I guess, is obviously making our favourite droid fly. With the Rocket Boosters Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones, he does work purely in the animation space, and therefore he is not limited by physical constraints of space as we are when we build these kind of things. But his work has given us many iconic moments in a huge amount of movies, which I think we're all familiar with. I'm now going to attempt. Hopefully Billy will be joining us now. As always, please post questions or anything that you want to ask in the channel. And I'm sure Billy will do his best to answer them. Billy. Hurrah, the technology has worked. I can see you. Billy, I can see you and hear you, I think.
Huh.
Oh, there you go. You made noises. Yes, it is. Fantastic.
Is it working now?
Aha! There we go.
All right.
I was worried. We did test this technology about 2 minutes ago, and it worked beautifully, and then it all went silent.
Well, technology, it's very, it develops very quickly, so it may have gotten out of date since we talked.
So, Billy, I've got to say, I looked at your IMDb history, and what a list. E.T., Men in Black, Galaxy Quest, one of my favourites, Mummy Returns, X-Men, oh my God, to name a few. And, of course, the prequels in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I can't see how you're old enough to work on ET, but I'm sure that'll start to come out as we talk. But start right at the very beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
where did you start? What inspired you to join the industry, and how did you kind of fall into working into some iconic movies from my teenage years?
Okay, well, act surprised, but it's when I saw Star Wars in
That's not just this
1977.
group. This is true.
Yeah. So I was just telling a story last night, actually. My mom was single at times, so it was just me and her, and she would basically, after lunch during the summer times when school was out of session, she would drop me off at the movie theater, and I would go see movies, and I would spend my afternoons almost every day in the movie theaters. And the theater manager's a friend, so he took care of me after the movies were over. But basically, I grew up in a movie theater, which was awesome, and saw Star Wars, and that changed everything. And she said, and I had to verify this occasionally, but she said that I told her that's what I want to do when I grow up, and I want to do what I just saw. And so everything from that point, everything in school, when I went to film school, and every time that I got new technology. This is when beta and VHS camcorders were super expensive and just come out, 83 or something like that. So basically, I got my hands on that and started doing video movies, and I made excuses to use that technology for school. And of course, I started getting into visual effects, and this is all practical at this time because there were no computers to do this kind of stuff. So I did miniature models, and I would do in-camera effects for these things. And it sort of developed over time. And then when I did get to college and film school, it was all, standard film stuff like editing and script writing and all that stuff. Again, no computers really. So then after I got out of college, I started playing with computers in a way. It was the video toaster. I don't know if anybody, I'm raising my hand as if anybody could actually respond to that. But okay. So for me, that's when I got my hands on Lightwave, which is the 3D animation software that came with the video toaster. And it was life-changing for me because that's when I got my hands on, oh, well, I can do this, and I can realize these types of things I want to do in my head. I can actually do it now on a computer because I don't have access to a motion control camera at age 19 or whatever. So that continued, kept playing the computers, had no social life. And eventually I went to a computer animation school for about 6 or 8 weeks, and was only two of them in the United States at the time. So it was pretty rare and very early in this thing. So I went to school for that for a little bit, and because I had been teaching myself stuff already, I knew I knew most of it already. So it was just filling in the gaps of the things I didn't know because I'd self-taught myself. Self-taught myself.
Oh.
Is that an Austin Powers line? I think it is. Um, so after that, in college, I met a friend, John Goodson, who had just flown in from California, and this is in North Carolina, which is on the East Coast of the United States. Um, and he was working at ILM on Star
Okay,
Trek
yeah.
Voyage Home to one with the Whales, and he would show me all these photographs of all the things he was doing with these practical whales. Um, uh, I do not understand a word, but I'm very pleased to see and hear you. Okay. Am I talking too fast? Probably. A lot of caffeine this morning. Um, so basically, John, I was on fire when he showed me these pictures. Like, oh my God, that's ILM. That's what I want to do in my life. Everything I've done when I'm doing my computer graphics and test on my own was all geared to, would this work at ILM? Would people in ILM be
Hmm.
impressed by this? So it was always the goal, always. And when I did fly out to visit him, when he had been working at ILM for years and years, and I flew out to San Francisco, the Bay Area, and he took me by ILM, and it was a Sunday, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. We walk into the model shop, and it's a Sunday, there's nobody there, and it's that scene in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I could not process what I was seeing, because everywhere I looked, every single eye dart was something from a movie that I had grown up with, and it was I almost had a stroke, I think, but it was amazing. And during that trip, I brought a demo reel of my work, and they just happened to have been in a hiring push. So I interviewed the next day, and then a week later I was hired, and then a month later I moved out from North Carolina to California to the West Coast of the United States, and started working at ILM in 1996. So my first movie was
Oh wow,
Empire
okay,
Strikes Back,
that's where you
special
started.
edition. So
And
yeah, and
is that when you were
I
adopted by
remember,
OnePlus?
yeah, sorry, I was, yeah, yeah, exactly. Howie Weed, who I lovingly referred to as my big brother, because he and his family sort of took me in because I was on my own and away from all my family who were 3,000 miles away. So I was over there all the time for dinners and holidays, and we just became the best of friends almost immediately. And he had just finished with Mark Siegel in the model shop building the Wampa costume for the new shots in Empire. And then he performed it. Howie was actually the guy in the suit doing the new scenes for Empire. And we're still best of friends, obviously. And, I talked to him this morning. So that was great because not only did I have John, who was in the model shop, but Howie, who had just transitioned from the model shop to digital. And usually when you get to ILM, there is
Hmm.
CG and then there's practical at the time. This is like mid to late 90s. And CG people were told never, ever, ever to go in the model shop because there's stuff that could kill you. um, and I think the model shop was kind of like, I don't know about the CG thing. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And they're really, so there was this, divide. But I was really fortunate to have these two guys to hang out with. So I would go in the model shop and hang out with them all the time and just shoot the shit. And it was great because there was no divide for me, and I was really, really fortunate for that. And so I got to know, Adam Savage and Fawn Davis and Grant Imahara and lots of
Hmm.
the old school model shop guys who have, the paths have dispersed, and some have done more big public things than others, and but they're all fantastic people, and it was great. So that was ILM, and then I moved down to Southern California, and worked on Men in Black. No, sorry, X-Men 2. Yeah, so I was in California in X-Men 2 and stayed down here for that. So I've been in Southern California since then, with occasional returns to ILM to do like a 4-month gig, 6-month gig up there. Um, yeah.
Ah, amazing.
So see, I'm going
But
on. Let
right,
me
right
talk and talk and
skills,
talk.
right time,
Yeah.
and working on. You started off with Empire, I guess. So, and then I guess that
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
jumping into the Star Wars area that embedded you in that whole production. Did you work on the Jedi, or did it jump straight into the prequels?
Uh,
You're in
I'm in
Jedi.
Jedi. I didn't work
Okay.
on it, but I'm in it. Yeah. So there's a there's a big pan over Coruscant when you see this crowd and like the statues of Palpatine are falling in the distance, um, and there's all these people that there's a big crowd and scenes from like Bespin and all these other planets, but there's one over Coruscant. It's a sweeping shot, and I'm in that crowd 4 times. um, because they would use extra shoots at ILM, and they're like, "Hey, anybody want to come over and be an extra?" As soon as I would see that email or as soon as I would hear that announcement, I would be like, me, me, me. I want to be in it. Yeah. So I was in Jedi and also in Galaxy Quest and a couple of those. But Galaxy Quest is interesting because next time you watch it and you're watching the full frame and not some cropped version of it, when the shuttle
Hmm.
crashes through the convention center
Hmm.
and there's people running away from it, you'll see me like head to toe in a yellow shirt, kind of running away from it. And because it was great because I showed up, I'm like, yeah, whatever you want, man, whatever you want. There's a group, and the guy directing that shoot said, okay, who wants to knock the shelf of models over as if you're running from the big crashing thing? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm over it. Yeah, I'm right here. Let's do it. So, but that was fun. So, but with Empire, I actually worked on that once, and it was a Cloud City stuff with the new shots of the Falcon coming around that look really pretty dated now, actually. But I didn't care at the time. I was like, I'm working on Empire Strikes Back. That's the only thing that matters right now. But then a couple years later, I worked on Empire again because they did something called the Trilogy
Okay.
Archival Restoration Project, which is where it was an internal thing where George was
Mm.
wanting to clean up even more shots that eventually made it into a new version of the. It's like stuff where in Jedi there used to be a really bad dark outline around
Mm.
the Rancor's hand when he had Luke, so bad blue screen compositing. So they fixed a lot of that stuff. And what I did I think I recomposited stars outside the window of a Star Destroyer when the Falcon flew by the window, and I was like, oh yeah. So it's simple stuff, but I'm working on Empire again, and they were doing stuff like the badges that the Imperial officers were wearing were
Mm.
reversed digitally in the second cleanup of the movie because they were done wrong on set. So
Yeah.
that's the weird stuff that we just flipped
Nobody
it to make it
notices, but
correct.
you've done it.
You know, but no,
But
nobody
they
notices.
kept
But
the
again,
stormtrooper
who
banging
cares
his
for
head on the
watching Star
door.
Wars?
That was kept
Uh,
in. That,
yeah. So then the next thing, I think it was Galaxy Quest, and the next thing
mm.
was Episode 1, and we were all freaking out about it because it's like a new Star Wars movie, and nobody's seen it yet because it wasn't finished, it was just in progress, and we were just ecstatic. So I did a lot of space battle shots for that one, and then Episode 2 came around, and there was some opportunity to do some digital R2D2 work, and I went after
Mm.
it like you know with a knife, like back off, I got this, it's mine. Um, so I was able to get it, and I did actually I did all the digital R2D2 shots for Episode 2, and that when he was walking upstairs, there was a shot of Padme and Anakin walking over a bridge, in this like Italian kind of rotunda outside thing, and he was uh, sort of moving up the stairs, and
Yeah.
originally he's supposed to fly over it in the script, but they changed it and wanted to save the flying part to the end. So George said, let's have him walk upstairs. And they all looked at me, and I'm like, uh, okay, all right, we'll figure it out. So at that point, it took, I played with my toy R2D2 uh, because I got paid to do it, John.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but just I'm gonna tease everybody, but it's all from a place of
You've
love.
been booed in
But
conferences, haven't you, for that? You
yeah,
know.
yeah, and I would have booed me too. So it just my thing is that um, everybody should be glad that it was me and Don B's working together to make sure that at least the first version of him flying, which is the one I did, um, we worked together and tried to make it as authentic as we could at the time
Mm.
because we both love the character so much. And I argued with an animation supervisor once who wanted him to be more CG and fluid, like,
Yeah, yeah.
battle droids or whatever at the time. He doesn't move like that. He does not, he'd never move that way. It's jerky, it's mechanical, there's mistakes, so that's what I pushed for and eventually won. Um, it wasn't like a bar fight or anything, it was just a
And
minor
did George
conversation.
Lucas have a
Um,
lot to
but
input on that? I mean, was he around at the reviews and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So there is the walking upstairs bit, which I did struggle with for a little bit, and I did the thing where R2 sort of is on two leg and does a rocking back and forth, and I had him scoot up to the stairs and
Mm.
then hop up using his third leg to jump like that or walk up. And I called that the Kenny Baker shuffle because and in one review, and this is one of the best moments of my career is when we were in the review, and I think someone in the room said, "I'm not sure about that," and I'm like, "Well, I added the Kenny Baker shuffle." And George is like, I like the Kenny Baker shuffle. I was like, so I got him to repeat something. But he actually suggested, I don't know if I've said this before, but he actually suggested having the ankles extend a little
Okay.
bit
Yeah. Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
could get more clearance to get over the stairs. And I'm like, wow, that's actually a really good idea. I didn't think about that. So that's the kind of mind he has. We did that, and then we did the flying bit. And again, I tried to. Originally, they were supposed to be in the chests that came out like the main panels of the chest. In episode one, there was actually an action figure that came out where they were in the chest because there was a scene in episode one where he like was supposed to fall over the
Mm.
ledge on one of those platforms in Coruscant and then fly over, but they cut it. So I got the chance to redesign it. I'm like, hey, I don't know how that would actually make him work and how you actually could do anything with that. So can I can I
Hmm.
just take it? And they're like, they were so busy. This would probably never happen now, but they're like so busy. Like, yeah, just do it. And that's when I'm like, I'm going to put them in the legs, and I'm going to try to figure out how they would pop in the legs. And you know, it probably doesn't make mechanical sense at all, but it's movie magic. Um, but at least with his legs like
Yeah.
that, you could
Control it.
sort of like turn and yeah, and
I think it
that was the
inspired
idea at least.
Iron Man
So
to
uh,
fly in that manner as well. Yeah.
I think that is actually true. I've heard that a few minutes ago. So yeah. So but that's the whole idea around it. And then Don B's, when they were doing some kind of behind the scenes book, put my name on the rocket. So they say
Mm.
Brooks Propulsion Units. So I owe Don B's forever for
There's
that because now I've got that
an
in
official
the
part of
little
R2D2 that's named
yeah,
after
the
you.
wiki pages and the books and stuff.
You.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm ready to have my autograph table now
And
at a
you were given
convention. So
R2D2 for a
no,
month to spend time with and build a relationship.
yes, yes. So yeah, so
Yeah.
discussing personal issues and kind of bonding over some coffee and tea. Uh, so what would happen is that we had him in the little department called the Rebel Mac unit, and that was a little sort of splinter unit of generalists that would do many kinds of different crafts in the CG world instead of just specific things. Because there's the main computer graphics department had like 1,000 people in it, and then there was a little splinter unit. I think Stu Maschwitz and John Knoll came up with the idea of having a little
Mm.
group of ninjas that could do a lot of other things in addition to one craft, and then can handle smaller sequences and get them done a lot faster because they know if I'm not going to see this part of the house, I'm not going to build that part of the house, and then I can just keep going instead of waiting for another artist to finish their thing. So that was the idea about the Rebel unit, and it was a small room that was ours, and it was cut off from the main area, so we didn't get a lot of foot traffic. We did share a wall with the model shop, though, so that was awesome. So we could just walk around the corner and talk to the guys there. Um, but in that room, we had the real R2D2 for about a month, and a gentleman named Tad Leckman started this digital model in episode 1, and then I took his and kept working with it and adding to it and polishing up for new scenes for episode 2. But we had the droid, the real one, in our room for a month, and every time we would come in the morning, we would rub his head for good luck, so it became like a running joke. But it was great, and to have the real thing, it's just all childhood dreams coming true every day with this, because it's like we all wanted an R2D2 when we were kids, so it was pretty amazing. And I think we had a different one in there, and it was the one of the Kenny Baker models, because it had the cavities for the feet to go in, and so I think we had that for just a little bit, because in episode 2 they used one of those. I think that's in the arena, and R2 is looking over 3PO when he's lost his leg or something like that, or his arm or something, and I had to go in and replace the feet for the practical droid, because you could see those holes. But I'm like, hey, if you just give me the weekend, I'll just replace the whole thing, because it'll be easier and it'll blend a lot better. So that's one scene where I did actually replace a practical droid with a CG one. But I worked really, really hard to make sure that it was respectful for practical stuff, because I love that stuff. So I'm not on the practical sucks, CG's awesome. I'm like, let's coexist.
And you didn't
let's do
create
stuff
Jar Jar
together.
Binks, did you?
People
So?
can do bad practical shit. No, but so there was once, in the original cut of episode 1, there's one shot of, I may have told you this, Michael, already, but there's a shot of Jar Jar that, it was a scene where they're in Shmi, Skywalker's little like house, and they were having talking at the dinner table or whatever, and Jar Jar sneezed in the background and flew 15 feet backwards, and it was hilarious. And they we were all like, oh my god. We were watching it in dailies, but they cut it. So but I have to tell you, Ahmed Best, the guy who played Jar Jar, that dude's super funny. So if you follow him on Twitter, he's a really cool guy to follow, and he's really smart and funny and talented, and that's just an aside.
Yeah,
But I just found
he
he
has
was really
taken quite a
entertaining
bit of
to
stick,
this
I
day,
think, over that,
actually.
hasn't he? So, which is unfair.
Yeah. And he's
Did you spend any time on set?
yeah.
I mean,
So
did you, or were you all in a dark room with the computer?
I that's normally how it is on CG, is that we never see anything but each other, and um, uh, uh, usually, let's see. So anytime, nothing on any of the prequels, and nothing when I was at ILM at all was on set. I mean, they had little pickup shots that were recreated in ILM against blue screen and stuff, but on set, no. But uh, I did a show called Con Man with Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion. I don't know if anybody's seen that or not, but Alan created the show, and he and his wife and me and my husband hang out a lot to this day, because they're amazingly wonderful people. And I told him I was going to be in London I actually was pitching a Doctor Who VR experience to the BBC, which is amazing, and didn't go anywhere, but it was awesome. So he said, come to set,
Oh,
because he
really?
was shooting Rogue One. And I'm like, say that again. Say it again. Well, just come to set. And his wife was in the other room. I'm like, Carissa, listen, say it again. And he says, just come to set. I'm like, okay, all right, no backsies, because I'm coming. And at that point, man, I would have like severed an arm, because this was a chance to go to Pinewood Studios and get on set of a Star Wars movie. And I've been doing this for 22 years, and that had never happened before. So I met him in the morning. We went in the car to Pinewood, and going into the gates of Pinewood, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Xanadu, and as soon as we got parked, there was a clipboard person waiting for NDAs. Like, you have to sign this, and that's fine. I was expected. I've signed so many of those. I should just carry blank ones around in my bag. But no cameras and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, of course. Then we went to the breakfast tent and I saw stormtroopers eating breakfast burritos. So that was the start of the day. I'm like, this is going to be a pretty cool day. So I hung out with him and John Knoll, who was the executive producer and visual effects supervisor for the movie, is a buddy of mine, and I worked for him in the Rebel Mac unit I mentioned earlier. So when Alan was busy doing his acting stuff, I would go hang out with John, and it was just cool to nerd out about Star Wars. And it was like, can you believe this? I'm like, no, man, it's so cool. I can't believe it. It was great. That was unbelievable. And now the Rogue One TV series with
Of course, yeah.
Tasman and they did the announcement that Alan's going to be coming back with K2SO, which
Yeah.
is awesome. That's going to be so good. Very, very excited about that.
Oh, good question.
So, what did you think of the trailer?
I could ask you the same. You're the interviewer, and I'm the interviewer. But I was blown away by it. I think JJ had an incredibly difficult job with this one, as we know, working, keeping all of the diehard fans, or trying to bring them back on side. And to me, he did.
Yeah,
he did probably the best
agree.
job he could do on that. And you combine the trailer with the title. And wow, I think I haven't seen many bad comments about it really. What's your thoughts? Yeah,
I loved it. I mean, I watched it several times. Watched it again last night, and it's I'm not seeing these questions. They just disappear.
Trickiest things you had to do with CG was with that question. Write these down, actually.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. So, the trailer for Last Jedi, I was so pumped after Rogue One and loving that movie so much, and then the trailer for Last Jedi came out, and I'm like, I don't know. It's not really, that does not wow me. I'm not excited about it. So have I reached Star Wars burnout? Maybe I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. And then the movie itself left me wanting a lot. Then this one, like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see more of this stuff. And it's just, they're just great. I mean, that shot of Rey doing a backflip over is it TIE Interceptor?
Interceptor, I think.
What is that? And Inceptor, right. It was awesome. And just seeing them, I don't know, the way they're integrating Leia, because I think that's old footage that they're reusing, but yeah, I can't wait. And you're right. I think JJ has a difficult, has a difficult task in front of him, but I think he can rise to the occasion. Because I think this is all Billy's opinion, asterisk. I would think from public's reaction and, wanting to make sure that the fans are taken care of, that they probably put a lot of thought, in addition to getting JJ back on board, a lot more thought about, does this respect this? And is this, how does this come back from where we were with Last Jedi? But I can't wait.
It's got to be good. It's got to be good, I think. And first impressions were quite sort of magnificent, really. So, a couple of questions we had. The trickiest CGI work that you've had, what was, I mean, we need to jump back to R2-D2 in a little bit, but let's just throw some of the questions that have come through. That could be frustration or limitation of technology, or just like, oh my God, you want me to do what?
Wow. Let's just stick to R2, because my mind's going to all the other stuff, like Kung Fu Panda 2 and all that stuff. So it was walking upstairs. Actually, that was the hardest thing, because how would you do it? Because he rolls around. How does he actually walk upstairs? And remember in A New Hope, you see him as they're all going down in the Millennium Falcon in the hangar. You see him outside of frame. I don't have an R2-D2 with me, but it's just doing this kind of like, I'm totally on strings and doing this ridiculous two-legged thing down the stairs. Do you remember that shot? So I was like, well, that was terrible. No, we can't do that. So it literally was 3 days of me playing with a toy of R2-D2 to try to figure out how in the world this is going to work. And getting the metal right on his head was also very hard, because at the time, metal was very difficult to replicate in CG. Now it's easy, But back then it was really hard. And making soft reflections, when you buff something and the reflections of something are just diffuse and soft and you can't really see any details, that was hard. So I actually had to uh, render out a hard reflection, take it into another program, blur that sequence of images, and re-project it back onto R2D2 to make them
Yeah,
soft
yeah.
reflections. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it was this real convoluted process to get something that's so easy. And in the practical world, just sanded the reflective thing and put some dull coat on it, and then it's not, it's a dull
Uh,
reflection. So,
and we've got
yeah.
another question up there.
Um,
What's your favourite film that you've worked on? Either from a pride perspective or just a damn fun perspective?
I'm gonna do a couple of them.
Yeah,
Galaxy Quest is one of them. Obviously, episode two, just because it was me and R2, and that was my my part of the Star Wars pie. So we're gonna put that over here. Yeah. But Galaxy Quest was amazing. Everybody on it was amazing. Everybody, the crew, we had so much fun.
mm.
And the movie holds up to this day. Um, and I thought it was brilliant. And then the other one would be Space Station 76, which is the first time I worked on an independent movie as a visual effects supervisor and associate producer. So that one was very, very near and dear to my heart because uh, I was just winging it. We had 500 visual effects shots and we were just figuring it out. And most of it was done in this apartment. And with very, very dear friends that offered their time for free because this was not a money making deal at all. It was definitely for the love of this movie, and it grew from this little thing to grab There's Hammer. That's awesome. Um, uh, it grew from this little like, oh, I'm going to do a movie that's kind of Space 1999 meets the Ice Storm. I'm like, whoa, you got me. Whatever it is, I'm on board. I want to help out. Um, and then it turned into, oh, we have
Yeah.
Liv Tyler. What? Oh, we have Matt Bomer and we have Patrick Wilson and all these are big actors and have gone to even do bigger things um, because they love the movie too. And it was all retro 70s
Mm.
sci-fi and it was all pre-Star Wars sci-fi. I grew up on that and I'm like, yes. So we made sure we put references to Silent Running, Space Academy, Logan's Run, Space 1999, of course. I put Easter eggs in there for like you'll see the breakaway date and like in the background and on computer panels and stuff for Space 1999. But that was great because me and the director became really good friends, and the producer and the crew we just all bonded, and we were able to just do this movie ourselves, and it was great. And I had ideas because I'm a filmmaker, but I forgot that I was a filmmaker because I was doing this little part of CG, where I used to like drive the car and I ended up working on like the spark plugs of the car. So getting back to driving the car again and knowing what we could do and just, it was great. So Space Station
That's
76,
it is
check it
true.
out. I think it
Yeah,
streams in the
yeah,
UK
yeah,
on Netflix. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. And just know, don't look at the trailer because we made the movie, Sony got the distribution rights and they made their own trailer for it, and it makes it like Anchorman in space with disco music. And there's no disco music in the movie at all because we were trying to ride the line of quirky and not cheesy and respectful of the genre. That's how we got a really cool cameo. It's in the opening credits, so I guess you'll
Yeah.
know. But it's Keir Delay from Space 2001 Space Odyssey. He makes a cameo. But
It's a
yeah,
great,
so check
great
it out. I
question
love
there,
it.
which I
It's a good,
think
good
is what
movie,
you're
I think.
saying. But you've got, I guess, quite a lot of constraints on IML and some of the corporate big machines. And now with the way technology has
Mm-hmm.
evolved,
Mm-hmm.
it now gives the power almost of the independence, but to create absolutely magnificent special effects. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess how much handcuffs do you have on when you're working on the big movies, and then how much freedom do you get on the indies? Is that
That's a good question. You get very little to
yeah?
zero freedom on the big stuff. It's anything Marvel. I love Marvel stuff, and I cannot wait for Endgame. I cannot wait for Endgame. I cannot wait. Um, but with Marvel, because there's so much money involved and they're really passionate about the quality of it. They have very restrictive things you can do, rightfully so. I mean, it's their project and they want to do it, keep it the quality up there. So anything with big IPs like that, intellectual properties, they're very restrictive. So, it's like, here's what it's supposed to look like. Here is the color palette. Here is the art. Make it look exactly like this. Where if I'm doing independent stuff, I could be a producer on the movie, and then have input on, okay, so what if we did this to tell the story? What story point are you trying to make? And I'm working the director, and they're like, well, we want this to feel this, or relay this story point or this exposition. Like, okay, what if we did it this way, because we can do this visual effects wise? And then it was that kind of back and forth, and I'm like, oh my God, great. The freedom of independent stuff and smaller productions, it's addictive, because a lot of times we have all this creativity that's just wasted basically on this one little craft, and not taking that for granted because we love what we do. But when you have more that you want to do and more that you want to give, I'm all about the
that's what
smaller
you're doing now,
productions,
pretty much. You're doing
for sure.
some of the independent stuff, and
Yes. Yeah, well, we're edging back into the bigger stuff. We're doing some stuff for Netflix, but Netflix is great. I mean, the way that they have structured stuff, it's collaborative, and they're taking risks and doing really interesting things. So I'm all about it. And we just landed an ABC pilot that we're working on, and that one's going to be a little more restrictive, but not in a terrible way, because we still know the director, and we've worked with him before, and we've offered suggestions that he's taken. So it'll be a little bit more collaborative, but it's a bigger one.
And jumping back to R2, have you started? Have you ever built an R2D2? Have you had any practical involvement in those kind of things?
Yeah, so
we do build, we actually design and 3D print R2s in this group, but I guess the wider group is we make things out of whatever we can lay our hands on. So
yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, we I am actually building an R2, and have been with a group of guys for 12 years. So it's been in a box for 12 years, because we started back in the day, before any of the builder groups existed. And this is just a group of world-class model makers who, there are no casting anything from any official molds. They were all built from scratch. So it was a little group, and we all put them together, and we were working on it. And then we went our separate ways, because the industry, everybody just goes and does their thing. And it just recently happened that a couple of us are in Los Angeles now, and Fawn Davis is a good buddy of mine, and we all work out of his shop, and we are at the stage where we've got the torsos and the legs and the feet bondoed and sanded.
I think we're familiar with that.
Sanded. Got all the primer on. Yeah, so the bodies are fiberglass, so they're cast in hard fiberglass and thick fiberglass, and there's some wood in there, but it's mostly fiberglass. And then the pieces are the plastic. I don't know what the term is.
Resin.
See, this is where I'm a CG guy, and I'm like, thank you. Yeah. So this is where I'm like, hey, Fawn and Grant, tell me what to do. Just what am I sanding? You guys, I don't know. If you want CG, I'm your man. But for this, I'm an idiot, and you just tell me what to do. So that's how it works. So back in the day, we were able to find actual hollow projectors that were the real thing from the British aircraft. Wow. Yeah. So we happened upon the last lot of these things that were brand new. So this is actually, this is I don't know, 15 years old now at this point, but it looks brand new because it's been in a bag, which has been in a box. It's been in my closet basically for that amount of time. So now we're working on it, and we've done a lot of primer So I think next is assembling the torso and the feet. I'm going to have mine as a two-legged with no remote control guts because
Yeah, yeah.
I just want it finished. I mean, I just want it done. So it's going to be in the corner. I will have the head with all the LEDs working in the soundboard. And my idea for turning it, I want it to be able to plug them in the wall because I'm not going to take him to show them off or to conventions and stuff. He's just going to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to an AC cord right in the wall. So my idea for turning him on and off is a restraining bolt that's a magnetic switch,
Yeah.
right? So I put it on to shut him down so the lights go off, and then I'll take it off when I want him to be on for people coming over or whatever. So that's what I'm going to do. We start the heads. We haven't actually worked in about 3 months because we're all busy, but the next time we get together, it's going to be starting with the heads. And we had those spun aluminum heads that came from Australia, I think, back in the day. I can say that to some of the
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
in the group, like, oh yeah, well that's a blah 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 X22221. I'm like, okay, it's heavy. That's how I describe it, right? So, it feels like I forgot that I had it. It's been so long. It's just like this box of stuff that always just travels with me. So I'm excited to get it done. And I
Oh,
do have one more thing to show. This is
okay.
R2D2 blue.
That's a secret recipe that
See
nobody
if I can get it
nobody
to.
knows.
Yeah, and this is, yeah, Don Bees gave this to me when I was working on, I was trying to get it to
Yeah.
actually, it's like that car paint kind of thing. And he gave this to me on episode 2 so I could try to match it in CG, and it was very, very helpful. And I found this just this morning, so I can show you guys. In the box
So
of the
how do you
R2D2
make
that's
that
still
blue?
in the other room. So,
What's the secret sauce?
um, 50, this is backwards here, but it's 50%, 50 purple, 25 gold,
Okay.
25 silver. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, that looks like percentages. Um, but as this, I'm sure this is actually on the
Hmm.
forum somewhere. This actual people probably replicated it. And the beauty with R2 is that he's always so banged up, and looks different from show to show and shot to shot. It's like if you get it in the neighborhood, that's fine. You know. Um, but I am weathering mine. I'm not going to have a clean R2D2 because that doesn't make sense to me. Uh, as that's the R2 I know is Star Wars, New Hope, and actually mine's going to be Empire. So he's not going to have
Right.
a.
Okay.
I'm not going to paint these black because this was black in New Hope, so this is going to be this. So it'll be an Empire type of R2. But yeah, someday, maybe by the end of the year it'll be done. I got to call those guys and
So
get
are
back
all
on
the
track.
guys that
But
work on these movies geeks? They all just huge fans and nerds, yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I I can't think of a single person that I worked with that wasn't
Yeah.
in love with what they do. It's just uh, CG is so hard. I mean, it's deceptively difficult to do, and the hours that we put in, um, uh, it's uh, uh, it's it, it's at the end of the show. Um, I've done a thing, especially on Space Station, where I didn't go outside for a week at all. Like I didn't leave my apartment at all because I was working, to 4 in the morning, and then going. For Space Station, I was actually in the color session. That's the end of the process where they're grading the film, the final product. The sound is done, and they're going through all the shots and doing all the color correction and making sure it's uniform. I have a picture of me on my laptop finishing the last shot in the color session with all the producers and the director in the color session because it was just that's how much hard work it is. So many hours spent behind a computer, and so many hours in the dark. Um, at one point, I think it was Kung Fu Panda 2. The environment that we were working in is dark because lighters, and that's what I was doing there was CG lighting. You have to have a dark environment so you get the values correct because these are very subtle changes in light and dark. So there's no lights on. It's all dark. You're in a cave. And I would go, you're welcome. Thank you. Um, how does CGI get to his immersive experience? I'm going to write that one down because that one's a good question. Let's see. CG realistic. Okay. I would actually sneak out and go to a tanning bed at
Just
lunch to
so you
get
look
some
normal.
UV because it was yeah, I was like, well, it was like I need sunshine. You know, it was my my limited scientific knowledge. I'm like, okay, well, if I can mimic sunlight in a quick period of time at lunch, maybe that's enough to because it
Yes.
starts to affect your
Yeah. Yeah.
mood if you don't have sunlight or you know. So I was like, I would go to work in the dark, be in the dark, and then come home in the dark, and I'm like, I cannot do this. So I think I ended up putting full spectrum light bulbs at my desk with a big white reflector. So it had all the colors of sunlight because there's blue that's usually taken out of white light
Yeah.
to make this right. It's like warm lighting is cozy and sleepy time and everything's comfortable, and that's not good if you're trying to work. So here's a tip from old Billy: if you have to work overnight or really late, fill your room with blue white light. If get full spectrum light bulbs because that shit will wake you up. um, so that's I use that to this day actually as a trick to stay up at night if I have to.
Cool. Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
how would
all
you
right. So
make?
someone
What's the trick
said,
to make CGI
um,
look real? And
a couple of things. It is technology. The technology is getting better, so that is part of it. There's definitely a skill level involved because you have to have a good eye for what stuff does in the real world, and a lot of times being a photographer helps because you know how lenses work, and a lot of each part of this process is important. The modeling, the texturing, the animation, and the lighting and compositing. If any one of those breaks or someone has dropped the ball or maybe is not up to the skill level of the others, it breaks the shot. And I'm going to
yeah.
cite Hellboy, the new Hellboy, as an example of this. So there are lots of shots where you could tell it was on a blue screen because the lighting of the environment did not match the lighting on the characters, and that's a dead giveaway. So if you have an eye for lighting, like my face is lit on this side right now, so if I was doing an object, I was making this CG, right? Right. So I'd have to if this side was bright or dark and this one was bright over here, and it wouldn't match what's going on. You would immediately say, well, that's CG because it doesn't like it fits into the play. So there's skill, there's technology, and there's the eye, and making sure that everybody in the pipeline is doing a good
Cool.
job,
Cool.
basically.
And I guess we'll start to wrap up. A couple of questions, I guess. Working on Star Wars and working with George Lucas. What was that like? Is he a fearsome character? Does he just say faster and more intense?
He's a
Or
big hugger. He
oh,
just
really?
runs up to you and
Okay.
gives you a big
Yeah.
old hug
No.
every time he sees you. I'm just kidding. No, not at all. No,
Quiet and
no,
reserved.
no, no. No. He is super nice. He was always kind. But I think because just maybe being overwhelmed with how many people are around him all the time, um, yeah, he never committed my name to memory, and I have heard that he doesn't do that a lot, even if you work with him a lot. And because I can't imagine what it's like for everybody to say, yes, George, yes, yes, that's an awesome idea, yes, George, yes. Uh, that has to alter reality a little bit. But he was always super nice. He's very, very smart. And um, it, there's, okay.
Yeah.
There was one bit where
Yeah.
they were doing the clone troopers for episode 2, and I think a conversation. I
We're
hope
a
this doesn't
small
get me in
group. It's all
trouble.
right.
It's
No,
fine.
nobody's
It's so
listening. Just
long
me and
ago.
you.
Yeah. So someone said, "Well, we should do the stormtroopers practically and make all the suits, and and it's going to be expensive because we have all these blah blah blah, all these troops." And George said, "Well, I just saw an R2D2 that looked great, and it was digital, so you guys can do it." And I'm like, um, I'll take the compliment, but what we ended up with the clone troopers,
Although
I don't
Jar
know.
Jar Binks wasn't your fault, the clone troopers were guilty as
No, I'll
charged.
take I'll take that. Yeah, don't give me Jar Jar. I'll take the clone troopers. But the cool design, and again, you know, there's so much involved with the stuff when it gets to you know, you can watch a movie and it's like, that part didn't look really good, but all the other stuff did.
Yeah.
Like in King Kong, the Peter Jackson one, most of that
Yeah.
stuff looked great, except the dinosaur chase looked pretty bad. And a lot of times it's because there's a story point that has to be addressed, and it's at the last part of the production, and the studio's like, this release date is not moving, so you guys need to get this done. And if something critical to the story happens, you've got to change all this stuff. And like, oh, we have to make a dinosaur chase. And if you're not given enough time to do it, you end up with something that's not as good as the other stuff, you know, because it's hard and it's a lot of complicated stuff going on. Um, so that's, I think maybe there's technology limitations. I think the clone trooper suffered from a little bit of that just because the technology and the amount that they were trying to do, because it was ridiculously complex and a huge amount of work to do in a small time on episode two. Uh, and you know, I think they did a good job at the time. And mine worked because it was very small and a limited, you know, couple of shots, but it wouldn't have held up for the whole movie if I had to do that. But
I can remember.
I don't know
Anyway,
what we're talking about. Yeah, I
the
know.
future. Any Star Wars in the future, or what's? I mean, anything you can share? Is it all not
Uh,
necessarily Star Wars, but general cool projects
um,
that Billy is contributing his amazing talent to?
Nothing Star Wars related, but I've already, if I haven't done it yet, I think I have. I've already dropped hints that I want to come see Alan when he shoots. You know, when I go back to set, if he goes and does
Yeah.
any kind of Rogue One TV series, I'm like, I might need to come see you. Can I come to set again? Um, but that's probably my only kind of involvement. It's just you know, holding Alan's purse as he goes to do things on set. I don't know, but you know, it won't be it won't be working on it because you know, we're just how do you see here? Uh,
So I guess that's today,
um,
actually.
Actually, some of those questions just just hit me. Yeah, his panel's today sometime. If I didn't get to your
Hmm.
question, feel free to ping me on Messenger because there's some of these that I want to address a little more. So, you know, feel free to reach out. But yeah, his thing's today. I got
Yeah.
to go to Celebration next time. I am super jealous of all these pictures that I'm seeing. Like, why am I not there? I mean, it's just, you know, we
Yeah.
went to something
Yeah.
called Monster Palooza yesterday, which is a monster themed version of a con. It was awesome, but the
Hmm.
horror stuff was more my husband's thing, and I'm the sci-fi guy, so you know I
Right.
have to be at
Okay. That's
Celebration next year
commitment.
for
We don't.
sure.
I don't think we know where it
Yeah,
is actually next year, but my plan is
yeah, yeah. If
cool.
wherever it
Good.
is,
Good.
we'll go. Um,
Yeah,
oh, cool.
yeah.
You're
So
welcome, Jeff.
you're working a lot more on Netflix now. I guess that's the future, is it?
Yeah, we got some Netflix stuff. Got some Netflix stuff on the horizon. The immediate thing is the ABC um, pilot for a new TV show that's pretty big, and I'll be starting in about an hour actually, getting stuff ready to show them next tomorrow. So it's going to take us through June, but it's going to be fun stuff. Excited about that one.
Fantastic. And well, I'm gonna send you some models over to have a little play with, um, which would be quite
Yes,
cool. And
yeah, good job
so
doing.
feel free to post
Yeah,
any
that's awesome.
animation work or anything that you do on the groups. I think it'd be quite cool for everybody to see that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, of
Right, I,
course.
I think we're
Yeah,
gonna
that'd be
wrap up.
awesome, dude. Yeah, sure.
A massive, massive thank you, first of all, not just for talking to
Oh,
us,
my
but for
pleasure.
all of the work that you've done
Thank
in the
you.
past. As I said, Galaxy Quest in particular was quite funny.
Well, it was selfish because it was always fun.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
you know, yeah. But again, send questions if I didn't get to them because I'm all into the
yeah. I
questions.
mean, there was
So
an
just
just
hit
an
me up.
interesting one there, which was today. How would you get into CGI? Because I think it's very different than when you actually did it at tender age of 19.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't just go and wander into a Wampa's house and
yeah.
start taking over anymore.
You can't.
Yeah,
Well, you can
yeah.
do it once, maybe.
Uh, okay, so yeah, we'll
All
ping
right.
some questions, but we'll finish it there. So thank you. We'll obviously, as
Great.
always, save the video. I know we're probably clashing with a loads of interviews on Celebration, but there's lots of people who want to catch up afterwards.
That's yeah. I
And
can't
just
wait.
to
I'm going
make
to
it
jump on there
completely
too.
clear,
Actually,
Billy will answer
yeah.
any questions that anybody pings him. So feel free to deluge him with questions, comments, or
Yeah.
interesting things afterwards. Okay,
Hit me.
brilliant. Cheers,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Hit me up. All right,
Good
guys.
talking to you. Speak
It's
to you
good
all
talking to
soon.
everybody.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you
Bye.
soon.